Good evening. I'd like to call the City of Menasha Common Council meeting to order. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Could we have roll call, please?
Alderman Zielinski. Here. Alderman Spencer. Here. Alderman Benner. Here. Alderman Nichols. Here. Alderman Taylor. Alderman Krautkramer. Here. Alderman Collier. Here. Alderman Keehan.
Here. The first item on the agenda this evening is public comments on any matter of concern to the city. If there's anyone from the public that would like to speak this evening, if you could step forward to the microphone and state your name and address.
Good evening. Mike Higgins, N319 Breezewood Drive, Appleton. I have to make a little bit of comment on cities and villages. I'm caught in the middle again, and if it wasn't for Kevin, we'd really be in a spot today because he went to bat. City of Menasha annexed in under protest town of Harrison, and now we're fighting with the town and the village of Harrison, and they didn't want to be annexed. Just remember, they didn't want to be annexed. I'm a Vietnam vet. 2 years ago, I forgave them because they didn't want us there. Nor does Harrison want you to be giving all this grief. So with this being said, we got a new street I put in, couldn't get a building permit because there's an argument between the city of Menasha and the town of Harrison. I'm caught in the middle. I don't need to be caught in the middle. Sewer and water's in, gravel's in, building permits denied. Kevin, great guy. He went to bat today, and we're doing something. We're going to get a building permit. But I want you to just remember, Harrison was there first. So we got to get along with me. That's all I have to say. And then tomorrow, I'll be here again. So thanks for listening.
Thanks, Mr. Higgins. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak this evening?
Vince Canute, 46 Lawson Street. I oppose where you're putting the trestle trail. I question the purchase of that man's land on Fox Street. You've been hassling me as a city of Menasha through the police, through Public Works for about 25 years now. I try to get my property, it looks like, because the trestle trail, I got a brochure from the trestle trail people where it was going to go through my property, but I ended up saving my property because of taxes. But the guy down the road on Fox Street, I watched you hassle him, and now you want to buy his property for this trestle trail. I don't oppose a trail around the lake. I just don't think it should go where it should go. You know, why don't you put it through the sewage plant, or between the sewage plant and the water? You know, we're expected to accept that sewage plant in our residential area, and why can't you put a trail there? The only reason you want it in our area is because of the bathrooms down there that have been closed for 40 years. Another thing, when I look down the river, and I'd like to remind you that my lot, when I moved in, was an empty lot, or before they put the house there, it was a junkyard. And you couldn't even see the river. And through the years, I cleaned it all up, the river and everything. And when I look down that river, I want to see James Island. I don't want to see that bridge. I don't want to have to take my boat around that bridge. If you want to put this trestle trail in, then get a referendum going and find out where everybody wants to put it, where everybody's going to agree. Right now, they're running down River Street, and they're getting to the end of River Street, and they're going around that chain link fence. And that reminds me of trying to go swimming at Brighton Beach with the chain link fence. Same thing. I'm 60 years old and I gotta crawl around a chain link fence because you guys got it blocked off. Well, there's the trestle trail right there, the loop, right on River Street. So, like I say, I look down the river, I don't want to see that bridge. I don't want to have to take my boat around that bridge. I don't want the lights from the bridge. You put the Menasha Utilities put this, all this power lines in front on Lawson Street. Took them out of, from Ackersill, because the poles were in Ackersill's building. That's not my problem. But you put these poles right in front of my house. What did that do to the value or what I've got going on? Nothing. You did nothing but screw me over more. I don't want it there, and I'm gonna fight it all the way. If you put it there, it's gonna be a fight to the end. If you want a trail of a certain distance to go around that lake, then get a referendum with everybody agreeing to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Knuth. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak this evening?
Hi, Kathy Stahl, 44 De Pere Street. I just want to address some questions. I've been hearing a lot of comments on the parking ramp that was built behind Main Street. I know when that was originally designed and planned, it was stated that the public would be able to use it on weekends and after 5 p.m. But the way it's posted with the sign at the entrance, it says tenant parking only from 7 to 5 p.m. It does not differentiate a weekday from a weekend. So I hear a lot of people puzzled as to why that ramp isn't available for the public on the weekends when that was communicated as being one of the perks of having that built there. I also, working at Club Tavern, I've noticed a lot of things with that parking ramp, and I've been getting a lot of questions from patrons and my co-workers about the police presence at the parking ramp. There seems to be almost an hourly surveillance of that ramp where squad cars are going all the way up to the top and all the way down to the bottom. It's been noted, almost daily on an hourly basis. So I'm kind of wondering, is there an issue, a safety issue there? My coworkers and I are all wondering what the police presence represents. Personally, I close that bar 4 nights a week and have to walk out in that parking lot after midnight. So if there is something going on in that area that the public should know about that requires hourly police presence, I think that should be shared. If there is a problem with that, I also wonder, with this being a private structure, why is the public police department tasked with hourly surveillance? Shouldn't that be carried out by the private entities that own that building if they have security concerns, where our police officers could be elsewhere doing their job instead of driving up and down an empty parking ramp all night long? If I could get some feedback on that, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. There's someone else in the back.
Yeah, I've had an ongoing complaint about people going into my locked house and my locked car and my locked garage, and they do vandalism, malicious vicious, and of course they don't go in there without stealing if they see something worth stealing. And since the thefts haven't been overwhelming, obviously they don't meet my $500 insurance deductible, it's also a harassment charge. And since they know when I'm coming and going, it's also a spying charge. It's illegal to spy on a citizen. And I complained to the Common Council once, I complained to the police commissioner once in person, and I wrote a written complaint once. And I also gave a letter to all my neighbors pointing out that, to be alert to people going onto my property because it's posted. Now, I've been advised, like if someone tells you get off my property, you get off, that's a crime. They also tell me if you post your property and they go on your property, they got that same warning as if you told them. So my property's been posted for 5 years. So a couple months ago, one of the guests of one of my neighbors drove onto my property, drove up to the garage, and unfortunately, I pulled in right behind him. So he didn't have a chance to get out the car and go into my locked doors. Well, I didn't report this till belatedly, but it's pretty much ignored. I reported it to the police department, to my alderman. I reported it to a policeman directly. And there should be questions on why he was violating that trespassing, because he's been going up and down that road for years and would have seen the sign. And also, he certainly would be a suspect for people going in the locked house and in locked property. And this has been ongoing. There's been frequent complaints. The girls in the office at the police department, I don't know what they're trained to do. But they don't sound like they're assisting citizens to get protection from the police.
Mr. Press, we've sent the police to your house numerous times, and we've actually worked with Winnebago County to get some people over there to help you as well. I'm not sure what's...
Okay, repeat that about you sent police there a couple times?
Officer Greschel's been there several times.
He's been there once,
to
that
see
I know
you.
of.
Yes. And we've been sending people over to help you with your concerns.
They're misrepresenting the material fact that I'm harassed, depressed, deprived, and frequently robbed, and they're going into my locked doors right after I change the locks.
Well, we can't debate it here, but I just did want you to know that we have sent the police over to help you, and we'll continue to do that if you do have
Right, I
concerns.
also want to note that I asked for a 5-minute appointment to see you personally, because I don't like exactly discussing on the phone, and I never got it. My alderman didn't give me the assistance that I requested. That would be Alderman Taylor. This is 10 minutes of 6 years of incredibly bad things, including retaliation by the police department with charges of disorderly conduct, loud stereo, and who knows what else. I've got a couple things to add. As far as the trespassing that they keep ignoring, the neighbor, I believe he's Chinese in origin. Basically, I just, when I couldn't get assistance in keeping trespassers off my property, I also said I didn't want him and his family, I didn't want his little boy playing on my property. So his little boy is a little Dickens. I think he's 6 years old. He'd run on the property and put my water pipes up, the pipes that come from the ceiling, the trussels, not the trussels. Yeah, the gutters, the water gutters. And kids 6 years old, they do it continually, repeatedly, and I finally told Pa, I said, this has got to stop. So one day, Pa's outside, I guess his wife is with him, and I'm doing these walking. I walk an hour a day. I try to, and for a while I was doing it religiously, but I'm walking, and I walk by, and Pa, after I tell him and the kid to stay off my land, he says, no, and he said it in Chinese, and I'm about 20 yards ahead, and I turn around, and here's that kid with my with my gutters, and right now the gutters are damaged. They're a real problem. The screws don't screw anymore because it's been up and down so many times. Now I got to do that when I mow the lawn. I got to put that up so I can mow the lawn. But that's an example of a neighbor flagrantly violating my property rights. Oh, here's a better one. I got a new dish remote and a new dish receiver, and all of a sudden, lo and behold, just recently, very recently, the remote didn't work. So the guy on the phone says, good, I'll send you a new receiver. I said, that's already a new receiver. So he sends me a new receiver, and I find out, where you put a coaxial cable on the back of the electronics system? Well, there was a little antenna about this big for the remote control. Someone stole that up and stole it and put a different remote cable on it. And it's got to take 15 minutes of crummy work because of getting the thing in and out and the wires behind and everything. That's just recently. I mean, people doubt that people are going in my house, and that's flagrant. So, I know that antenna was there because like I said, when the remote wasn't working, I said to the guy, I said, my dish receiver's on the bottom shelf. Could it be that it's not connecting with the antenna? And he says, no, not if you're that close, and you should be able to connect from a different room. So that antenna was there, it was removed, and they took the time to put a different cable on to the antenna slot. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, this has been going on for 5 years, and you're only hearing 1% of it. And the problem is, the police take it as a joke. The people in the office don't know how to serve the help that a person needs. I'm not getting professional treatment, and it's dereliction of duty. It's lack of diligence that I have to go through what I go through.
Thank you, Mr. Press. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak this evening? Seeing no one else, we'll move on to the report of department heads and staff and consultants. We do have our new fire chief, Kevin Cologne, here this evening, and our city clerk is going to administer the oath of office. If you could come up to the front, please.
Chief has taken the official oath, so this is our ceremonial oath from the city of Menasha. I do have a sheet. You want- So, please raise your right hand. I, Kevin Clone,
I, Kevin Clone,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to do my duty as fire chief
to do my duty as fire chief
for the cities of Neenah and Menasha,
for the cities of Neenah and Menasha,
Winnebago, and Calumet counties,
Winnebago, and Calumet counties,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
to serve my commanding officers
to serve my commanding officers
with respect and dignity,
with respect and dignity,
to serve the citizens of the cities of Neenah and Menasha
to serve the citizens of the cities of Neenah and Menasha
with compassion, courage, and integrity,
with compassion, courage, and integrity,
and to uphold the laws and constitutions of the United States
and to uphold the laws and Constitution of the United States
and the state of Wisconsin
and the state of Wisconsin
and the cities of Neenah and Menasha
and the cities of Neenah and Menasha
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations, Chief.
Thank you. I didn't formally write a speech or anything for this, but I just want to thank everybody for the opportunity here to serve as your fire chief. I am honored and grateful to be able to take on this duty. I know I can honestly say that we will work hard to continue to make Neenah Menasha Fire a great place to work and a great opportunity to serve our citizens in Neenah Menasha. I thank you for all the support from my command staff, the firefighters that are here tonight. My mom and dad are in here tonight, my wife, my father-in-law, and my daughter. And again, firefighters from fire department. And like I said, I appreciate this opportunity and look forward to serve you. Thank you very much. Leave it here.
Thank you, Timmy.
It's okay.
The next item on the agenda is the announcement of the Landmarks Photo Contest winner for 2016. Paul Burnett's here this evening to introduce our winner, if you want to come up to the front. You can just hang on to the mic too if that's easier.
Okay, as Mayor Merka said, I'm Paul Burnett. I'm the chair of the Landmarks Commission here in Menasha. And May, as you all hopefully know, is Historic Preservation Month for the state of Wisconsin. And yearly we do a photo contest. And this year we had 45 total entries, and 42 of them were all correct. So we had a lot of fun picking the winner this year, and Sue Ellen John of Menasha, here's our winner. And first off, we'd like to thank Lemon Loves Lime, did a great job. They served a complimentary ice cream to every participant. And Randall's Auto House did an extra little donation for us. But we have $115 in gift certificates to downtown businesses for you, Sue Ellen. So we wanted to thank you for coming out, exploring downtown Menasha, and looking for all the wonderful little trademarks on our buildings.
Thank you. It was fun. I've lived here all my life, and it's amazing with going around the little things that I go by every day that I haven't noticed. And
Thank you again.
all right, thank you very
Congratulations. Yep, now you can grab it. Item 3 is the minutes and communications to receive this evening. Do we have a motion? Alderman Benner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At this time, I make a motion to receive and put on file the minutes A through I and communication J.
There's a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Alderman Taylor?
I had discussion on Item E, Landmarks Commission. In their meeting, they were looking to the stone that was salvaged from both the hotel and the Menasha Hotel and the former First National Bank building. These elements were salvaged for the public spaces throughout the community. And now, at this last meeting, I see that they were discussing putting these elements on the back of the wild apple. And then there was a motion to reconsider and about putting these elements on, talking to all the businesses downtown. First and foremost, these elements should stay with the community. They should be, the uses should be exhausted for the public purpose, if it's parks or public spaces. And then I think at some point, then we should look at alternatives besides that. But I think there's a lot of work to be done yet. We haven't really looked at the different uses, the different elements, and I think we have an opportunity here to enhance the public spaces. So I would hope that we look at that public spaces. Park Department should have a look at these elements, and Public Works, and in fact all departments. So I would hope that that situation slows down a little bit and we address the public issues first. Also, I'm going to have to go down to the council meeting. Did you put G in here, or is it just A through J, Mayor? Is it just the minutes?
Just the minutes and communications, yes.
Okay, I'll wait for the council minutes.
Alderman Collier?
I was under the understanding that was going back to the Landmark Commission, and it was going to come back with another proposal.
So that's not really on the agenda tonight, but if we were going to allow those elements to be used outside of city public space, that would need to be approved by the Common Council. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The motion carries. Item G is the consent agenda. There are 3 items this evening. The minutes to approve from the Common Council meeting of June 6th, the Board of Public Works recommendations from June 6th for the street use application for the Community First Fox Cities Marathon on September 18th, and the Nina Menasha Joint Finance and Personnel Committee recommendation from June 7th to authorize hiring of 1 firefighter after July 7th, and subject to Kevin Clone not returning to his line staff position. Are you planning on returning? Okay. Does anyone wish to have any of the items separated? Alderman Taylor?
Item 1 and item 3.
Okay, so we'll just have 3 separate motions then, if we're going to have them all separate items. So we'll take up the minutes to approve from the Common Council meeting of June 6th. Do we have a motion on that item? Did you wish to make the motion, Alderman Taylor, or Alderman Benner?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At this time, I make a motion to approve the city council meeting, the Common Council meeting minutes from 6/6 of 2016, consent agenda item 1.
There's a motion and a second. Is there discussion? Alderman Taylor?
When we hear from the public, I'd like to get back to them or have staff get back to them. And twice now, Sandra Dable Taylor has been up here, and she has reminded us that according to our city RDA meeting schedule, that they have not met for their annual meeting. And I'm wondering what type of violation that is, that we're not upholding the timetable that we have for this commission to meet. Does the state require that, Mayor, that they have to meet at an annual basis?
We do have bylaws that state that. You also have to recognize that we do not have a director right now, and Mr. Engelbert is working very diligently to try to keep up with 2 people's work.
I'm not asking that, Mayor.
To have a separate meeting just to elect a president doesn't seem a prudent use of time.
Okay.
So when we do have an item, we will elect our president at that point. And I believe the first week of July or the last week of June, we're planning on a meeting because there is an agenda item at that point.
Okay. But I wish you would have conveyed that to her. Also, we have the dive team fundraising donations. I think what we need to do is really have a workshop on this. There seems to be mixed information out there with the public, and with that, it's a lot of uncertainty. So I think we should have a meeting, a workshop on, are we fundraising for the dive team? Are we looking to not have a dive team? Are we looking for donations? So I think this is important to straighten out a lot of this talk out there in the public. And looking at what else she had said here. Thank you.
So, Alderman Collier?
The biggest problem I see with this, with the people come and talk to me about it, is they consider it a fee, which is indirectly a different type of tax to them. They'd rather see it in a budget or somehow financed through other means, or else coming straight out of the fireman's budget for next year.
We'll have a chance to discuss that during the administration committee. Alderman Benner?
That's what I was going to say.
Okay. So seeing no other discussion, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The motion carries. Item 2 is the street use application for the Community First Fox Cities Marathon. Do we have a motion? Alderman Benner?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve agenda item number 2, the Community First Cities Marathon, presented by Myron Construction, Sunday, September 18th, 2016, 7 a.m. to 2 p.m.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Motion carried on roll call 8-0.
Item 3 is the Menasha Joint Finance and Personnel Committee recommendation to authorize hiring one firefighter after July 7th. Do we have a motion? Alderman Benner?
Mr. Mayor, at this time, I make a motion to approve consent agenda item number 3 as stated.
There's a motion and a second. Is there discussion? Alderman Taylor?
You know, you asked the chief a question here. I was going to ask him that too, about if he was going to take the job. And if you weren't going to take the job, why didn't we exercise a waiver or a right to move this up instead of waiting 30-some days?
Well, like I said, I do plan on remaining in this position. We're still looking at what candidates we also have to make the offer to, and so this was just, I think this was done the last time, so they kind of used the language that was done for the last hiring. So I'm not sure exactly why that we're going to wait till July 7th, but we can work it however, whatever the approval is, but we still need to take a look at the candidates and make sure that the ones on our list are the ones that we're looking at, that are still even available yet. Because the list was still from last year when we did the hiring from last year, so.
Well, I think that this whole process has been kind of dragged along here, and then we get into a situation where we have a 30 blank days here, and we're back into the overtime problem, which we've had an overtime problem with the fire department. So I hope we can expedite some things here, and instead of taking these long spanses here and causing overtime in the community, we got to get the overtime budget down.
Okay.
It is by contract that we do have to allow that 30-day. It is by contract that we do have to allow that, so I don't believe the chief can actually even waive that. But, okay. Okay. Well, it is by contract, and we don't need to debate. Alderman Benner?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was just going to say we did talk about this, and it was a question that I asked, and it's because by contract, he still has bumping rights. If things don't work out, he can go back to his old position for 30 days, and that's the way the contract is, and so it's just the right way to do it. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Motion carried on roll call, 8-0.
Item I is action items. The first item is the accounts payable and payroll for 6/9 through 6/16. Do we have a motion? Alderman Nichols?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll move to approve the accounts payable and payroll for the term of June 9th, 2016 to June 16th, 2016 in the amount of $2,716,832.82.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Alderman Taylor?
Thank you, Mayor. Peggy, page 3, top item, Silverado, Chevrolet Silverado truck. What department is that for?
That is for the Public Works Facility Equipment Fund.
And do you know what the vehicle was for? Is it for a supervisor, or is it for?
I don't know, but Director Radke might know.
Replacement pickup truck.
I believe it's a
Parks
department truck.
I think so, yes. Mm-hmm.
Pardon me?
Parks Department, pickup truck.
Pickup truck for what department?
Parks Department.
Parks.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Motion carried on roll call, 8-0.
Item 2 is the beverage operators licenses for the 2015 through 17 licensing period. Do we have a motion? Alderman Nichols?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll move to approve the beverage operator's license applications for the 2015 through 2017 licensing period as listed in the Police Department's memo dated June 15th, 2016.
Is there a second? There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Motion carried on roll call, 8-0.
Item 3 is the liquor license application for Rebecca Motter, doing business as Your Daily Grind at 204 Main Street. Do we have a motion? Other questions? Oh, Alderman Nichols?
Yes, I was going to see if it was all right to ask a question first.
Sure.
Clerk Galiazzi mentioned in her memo to us that some updates would be provided at the next meeting, and I was inquiring about an update on the status of this application.
There have been no changes since the memo that I put together. And as I stated in the memo, that all financial claims to the city are not current, and therefore the applicant is asking if you would delay action on this, as they're not ready even to open up for business. And they are anticipating sometime in July to have everything all taken care of.
Is it allowable to delay?
You could postpone the motion to a date certain, if you wish to do that. So if you want to postpone it till the July 5th meeting, you could do that. You could deny it. I don't think you can table it, correct? Because we do need to take action to either approve or deny it at some point. So we'd prefer that you would, and if they're not ready yet as of July 5th, we could again postpone it if they would request that again.
Okay, then I'll move that we postpone the liquor license application for Rebecca Motter, doing business as Your Daily Grind, until July 5th.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Alderman Nichols? Okay. No one else? We don't need a roll call, do we? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item B is the liquor license application for Lake Park Swim and Fitness. Megan Collins, agent. Alderman Taylor?
I would like to ask a question too of the last statement on here, if the clerk could, or the attorney could explain what this is all about.
Which one are you?
To a technicality, the last sentence.
Oh. Attorney Captain, did you?
I can explain it. Peggy would be able to explain it.
I was going to say, this is an email from someone else, so it's difficult to explain what that person meant when they printed a email.
The tax not being paid during the grace period.
So according to state statutes, the taxes are due on the 31st of January, March, May, and July. There are 5 business day grace period after that. However, the 5 business day grace period statutorily says that the payment has to be received by that date, not mailed by that date. So that's why it's in default.
And that was just a misunderstanding by the applicant. They thought if it was postmarked by the end of the grace period but received in the office, they would still get credit, but they didn't, so which put them in arrears on their taxes. And so they have been making their payments all along, and now they're asking for a little bit more time to make the July payment. No, their license will expire as of June 30th. And in speaking with the applicant, they don't use it a lot in the, in the month of July, and so to have it, it's not critical. And so that's why.
What are you asking us to approve a license?
Gotta hear you.
So what are you asking us with this here? Since the statement is from somebody else, are you
They're
asking us
asking-
to approve license without the proper financial?
As her memo had said, they're asking for delay the action, as you just did, delay the action on Rebecca Maters. The Lake Park Swim and Fitness is also asking that you delay action on their license until July. I believe their memo says to the second meeting in July.
The difference between the one we just approved, they've never been open for business and they haven't had a license. They're still waiting to get their occupancy permit. This business is actually operating, and then will they be operating without this license?
Yes, they can still operate, it's that they just cannot serve alcohol. And as the applicant explained, at Lake Park Swim and Fitness, it's not something that they do every day. They have a couple times a year that they might have a gathering that they serve alcohol. They just like to have that license in case these gatherings occur. It's nothing that they do on a daily basis. So to not have it for the month of July is not going to stop them from doing their business.
So it isn't like what we just approved here a second ago, because this business has never had one, they've never been open, is that correct? Where this business is open and they could be
Where
serving?
the Daily Grind was approved a license back in March with the anticipation of opening by May 1st. But they've had a few setbacks with the remodeling, and therefore they haven't been able to open. If everything would have been gone along accordingly, that yes, they would have been open by May 1st.
Well, I know it, but they're not open, they're not an open business yet where this one is, so I was just trying to make the difference here if they're operating without the license for this next,
Right,
till the second meeting of July.
Yeah, their liquor license isn't their whole business. They're, Lake Park Swim and Fitness, they're a health club. So they can operate as a business without a liquor license. They just
had one in the past, like I said, for a couple events each year.
And then why don't they just show up with a check and write it to make everything? Okay.
They've been making the installments all along, as Director Stino had said, because they misunderstood how the grace days fall. They're currently current on their third installment. But our ordinance reads that they have to be current in all their financial obligations. Technically, they are not current because once you miss an installment, then you become delinquent starting at the beginning of the year. And so because of that technicality, they are not current. And the ordinance reads that all financial claims of the city must be satisfied. And that's why they're asking to wait until July, because they will make their fourth and final installment in July. And because to them, they're still on the installment.
Well, I'm not in favor of that because we look at our taxpayers. Every year I get calls in January where they miss a payment or they don't, the installment program. Once they miss that, they have to pay the whole taxes under penalty too if they don't. And I think we should treat everybody the same in this city, and they should show up here with a check tomorrow and pay this if they want. And, no special favors. We got to treat everybody the same. I'm going to vote against it.
I think we should comment about no special favors. They are being charged interest.
They are paying all of the interest charges. I think they just can't come up with the extra funds until July to pay the rest, so they wouldn't be getting any special favors.
Alderman Benner?
I have a couple questions, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. The first one is really probably the most important one. Can we actually make a motion to table this until July 18th? Or a motion to postpone, it comes back at the next meeting, correct?
You can postpone to a certain date, so you could postpone until July 18th, yes.
Okay.
Attorney Captain?
You can postpone to a date certain, or you could postpone to some activity or something that, you're insured is going to be accomplished. You could,
Okay. So if a motion was made to postpone until July 18th.
or
that's
until the taxes are paid, that's another one, and then it would come back at the next meeting. Or
Oh,
whatever the
whichever
meeting
would come
subsequent to the complete payment of the taxes.
fine. Okay. The other question I have is for our clerk, are we in a shortage of liquor licenses at this point?
No, we're not in a shortage.
So if somebody needs one, came in, wanted to open a business, they wouldn't be denying it because we'd be holding this one for this business.
Yeah, I
right?
don't have any, we have
Several.
several. Yeah.
Okay, so we don't have a problem. if
A
they
couple
don't-
of them being
they
the
don't do
reserve
this.
licenses.
Okay, then I'm gonna make a motion to postpone, well, I'm gonna make a motion to postpone this until the taxes are paid.
There's a motion and a second to postpone until full payment of the taxes. I don't think we can discuss that, can we? Oh, discussion on the motion?
Yeah.
Okay. Seeing none, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Motion carried on roll call 8-0.
Item C is a liquor license application for Margaritaville Lounge. Jennifer is here this evening. Do we have a motion or questions on this one? Not everyone at once, please. So this one, some of the inspections are not completed at this point, and the occupancy permit hasn't been issued. So we could either postpone this one to a future meeting. We could approve it with a condition that it not be issued until the inspections have passed. I don't think we've done that in the past. I think we've always insisted that the inspections had to be complete before we approved it. I'm not sure, Jennifer, is there urgency in approving this before July 5th?
Well, basically everything is ready, but we're still doing some I guess, work you could say inside, but the inspections have been done. They're just not up to code. So like when the health inspector went in, obviously we don't have anything running yet, so we can't have, it's things like putting a paper towel in the bathroom, and right now the place is a mess. So I asked that if we could just continue on with the liquor license, that way I wouldn't have to like reapply for it, but we wouldn't be open in business. I mean, we've been out of business since mid-February, so it's been closed since then. But that we wouldn't open up until the fire department, the building inspector, everything was up to code.
Would you be planning on opening before July 5th?
No.
Okay, so postponing this to the next meeting wouldn't cause an issue?
No.
Okay. Alderman Nichols, did you have a question?
No, then I'll make the motion to postpone the reserve Class B liquor and malt license applications for Margarita Lounge LLC at 6 Taco Street until the July 5th meeting.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, could we have roll call vote, please? Thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you.
Motion carried on roll call, 8-0.
Item 4 is the special use permit for 222 Washington Street. We need a motion to remove from the table before we would discuss this. Alderman Nichols?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll move that we remove from the table special use permit for 222 Washington Street.
So a motion and a second. Could we have a roll call vote, please?
Motion carried on roll call, 8-0.
There was not a motion at the previous meeting, so at this point we would need a motion to approve or deny, and then we could have discussion. Alderman Nichols?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll move to approve the special use permit application for 222 Washington Street.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there discussion? Alderman Taylor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This building has been a professional office building for the last 60 years, and I have no problem with the three sides of this building to do what they want for their storage area. But time does go by, things change, and blocking out the lower windows on this building, to me, changes the how this building was built. It changes the whole scope of that, and re-landscaping the front of it. I have no problem with the business that they want to provide there, but I have a problem with taking out those lower windows. If somebody wants to return this to a professional office building and to have natural light in the building, I think it really has a problem with that. And to just fill this property in and then put up a retaining wall, to me, isn't I don't think the professional look that we're looking for. This is in our growth corridor. This is in our comprehensive 30-year plan, 20-year plan, and I think this is just a temporary fix for a storage building. I would like to make a motion that, and again, I'm fine with everything else here, but I think the facade facing the street and the way the building was built, the way the landscaping was done professionally, I think we need to keep the facade of this building intact. They do make different blackout windows. They make different safety windows. The party is saying that security reasons. Well, I would hope they would have a automatic security system in there for any type of invasion into the building to notify the police department that that's happening. So I don't think the safety end of it flies as far as saying they don't want the windows for safety reasons. I don't know if backfilling this building is the proper thing to do for the engineering on the building. I'm not an engineer. I don't say it to be that, but I'm sure you're going to have to, when you backfill that, have to do something different with it. But I think the integrity and the use of the building for future generations and for the current situation should remain as is the front door. I don't think the front door, we should put up a big steel door with a little window in it. I think the front door area should stay intact. You know, we don't want this to look like a warehouse on this block. We have the St. Pat's School is gone now. We have an opportunity at some point maybe to buy that gas station across the street, and we have every opportunity here to enhance our gateway, and I think that's the path that we need to take in this area. We keep focusing on our downtown. I think we have to back out a little bit. I've been trying to get the company I work for, Graphic Packaging, to take down that old rusty fence by our parking lot and put in some nice shrubbery or something. So with them leaving, maybe we could accommodate that finally and get that fence in our gateway out of there and properly landscape it. So I think we need to look at the big picture here, and I'm all in favor of them operating the other three facades and what they want to do inside. I think the landscaping on the northeast corner is lax as far as blocking out that more of an industrial area back there with the tracks, but we'll have to see how that goes after that house is torn down. But I'm going to make a motion that the lower windows, or an amendment, that the lower windows in the building should stay.
There's a motion, a second, to amend the special use permit to require that the windows on the east facade lower level would remain in the building. Mr. Alderman Collier?
I disagree with that. I feel that this gentleman is willing to put a lot of money, change that corner a little bit. That office has been empty. If you leave it empty for 3 to 5 more years, you probably get to condemn it. You sure worry about that building, but nothing's happened with the gas station, the empty building across the street. Yeah, the church, if it wasn't there, it'd be there for 20 more years, but they tore it down for green space or whatever, I don't know. But I don't think that amendment should have been put on there. You should get to, this man he's been to council meetings, he's been to meetings, he's spending money, he's trying to improve that, and with the people in back, they're trying to improve the looks of how it comes into town. I think you're wrong on this one, Mr. Taylor, and I hope you rescind your memo.
Alderman Nichols?
Thank you. May I ask who seconded that motion? Because I wasn't
Zielinski.
sure. Alderman Zielinski. Okay, I didn't hear it very well, so thank you for that clarification. The windows on the street side of the building seem to be the main concern of discussion at our last council meeting, and the reason this special use permit was held up here at the council level. And the owner of the building, I believe, attended the meeting last week, and he obviously listened to the concerns stated here, because there's a new plan in our packet this week that allows for the top floor windows to remain and the lower level windows to be infilled. So I think the owner of this building has made an effort to meet us halfway on our concerns, to meet us in the middle, and I think that we should take that effort into consideration when we vote for this. I'm not sure who can answer this question for me, but are there any concerns to the structure of the building by filling in these lower level windows?
I talked with our building inspectors about that issue. Well, I don't understand everything that needs to go in to do that, to make it happen. They were pretty confident that it can be done. they would need to take care of whatever moisture may access that point on the bottom, but I'm sure that's a relatively straightforward fix.
Thank you for that. So I can't support the amendment, and the two main reasons are because the owner, I believe, has made an effort to meet us in the middle on this issue, and the other being, we have a property here that's been vacant for a long time in a corridor that's currently zoned industrial, and at this point, I see us as having two options: to continue having a vacant building, which does nothing for the corridor, or to have an operating business here in Menasha for the time being. So I don't support the amendment, but I do support moving ahead with this special use permit.
So the owner of the building is here tonight. I don't know if the council would like to hear from him as well, or if he would like to speak.
Mr. Mayor, I have the floor. I would like to have you, since everybody
Hold
thinks
on,
that...
Mr. Taylor, I was speaking, and then I would recognize you.
Oh, okay, well, my light went on, that's what I
Okay.
was looking
But
at.
I was just curious if, would you like to speak this evening, Greg, or? You don't have to if you don't want to. I just wanted to give you that opportunity.
If there's questions, we can definitely answer them.
Okay. Alderman Taylor?
You and I had a discussion this afternoon, and everybody thinks that we're bending over, and there was kind of a bait and switch at the planning with this. We explained that scenario that you told me about, why we're at this point here and why it's getting balled up on the council floor.
I guess I wouldn't say it was a bait and switch. I think that they didn't realize that they needed permits to change the exterior
Well, tell us
facades.
what you told me, exactly how they came to the...
They came to ask for a change in the parking and to get the special use permit for that, and then we found out that they were also doing changes to the exterior facade of the building at the second meeting, and that's why there wasn't a finalized plan at that point. I wouldn't call it a bait and switch, though. I think it was that they didn't realize that they needed to get those approvals for the special use permit.
Okay,
So,
and then what happened with the process at the planning commission and getting it here? They had to go change these plans or something at some point?
the site plan changed from the first meeting to the second meeting, and at the second meeting, we approved some changes with staff approval to help with the facades and council approval, and that's where we're at right now.
Okay. I'm not in favor of making a warehouse out of a professional office building on our gateway corridor, okay? And by filling in these windows on the front facade, that's what we're doing. And by having this warehouse, this property doesn't have employees there, so they are very poor stewards in this community of shoveling their sidewalk, of cutting their grass. Trees fall down, they leave it sit for years. Their sign is still propped up against the building. They've been very poor business people in this community and taking care of their property. So I don't know what's going to make them change by turning this into a warehouse and then not having anybody there, and continue to not cut the grass, to not shovel a sidewalk, and our crew's got to go in, shovel ice, and waste a lot of people's time. And I think it's a very simple that we're asking here to keep the integrity of the building for future use as a professional building, and that's all I'm asking with my motion.
Alderman Collier?
Mr. Taylor, Alderman Taylor, you brought up stuff about grass cuttings. Is there any citations from the city that said we went over there in the past?
This really isn't what we're discussing here, but yes, I believe we have mowed the lawn. I'm not certain of that.
Thank you.
Okay. Alderman Zelinski.
I'm just wondering from him, I haven't been to the planning commission meeting when this came up, but I was wondering why he wants to put the landscaping in front of the windows. Is it just because of security, or is there other reasonings behind this?
I don't want to speak for you, Greg, or...
Why do you want to get rid of the windows?
The lower level windows, because they're inadequate for everything.
For storage?
Well, I need you to speak on the microphone, otherwise we're not going to be able to hear you, sorry.
Lower level windows have no need. They're below grade in the back, partially, they're recessed back so far. We have no need for daylight in our new use of the building. The other part is we do need to remove dirt from the north side to get access to that north entrance. We need a place to put soil. That is one of the places that we were going to re-slope the entire grade and make it a very professional kind of a building to look, because we want our clients to go to that building, not shy away from it. So I do take offense at, what our intentions are, because nobody's asked us about that point of it. So that soil needs to stay on site there because of the condition of the soil and the past history of the area. So we're working within a lot of parameters trying to make these improvements within this city. So we really appreciate your support.
Alderman Taylor?
The soil has had some history. Can that soil be disturbed and moved and kept on the same property, if that's what he's saying, what I'm hearing?
Yes, yes it can.
Disturb it.
That's what we're working within those parameters.
Okay, so is this something that the DNR is working with you?
It's all registered. Greg has all the paperwork, so he got the paperwork. He got the paperwork when he bought the building.
If the contamination is of that nature, is the DNR informed about this?
Yes.
And they say you can move this?
We can move it, but it needs to stay on site.
So why can't it be trucked away?
We're going by the regulations that have been with the building and the property. We're working within those parameters, not looking to add more expense to a project that's really still economically in question, whether we can even pull it off.
I'm just stating the reason I think the one facade should stay intact in our gateway. And yes, there has been many complaints filed on the Alderman Collier. There's been many complaints turned in.
Okay, there's a motion and a second on the floor to, amend the special use permit approval that the lower windows on the east facade would remain as currently there. This is just on the windows themselves. Should the windows, if you vote yes, the windows would stay. If you vote no, it would be as shown with the windows being filled. Just on the amendment at this point.
Motion fails on roll call 3-5.
So now the motion that's on the floor is the motion to approve the special use permit as outlined within the common council packet. Is there further discussion? If not, we'll take a roll call vote on that.
Motion carried on roll call 6-2.
Item J is held over business, and item 1 is resolution 1716 approving a budget amendment for the purchase. That doesn't make sense. 2016 budget adjustment for the purpose of acquiring a vacant lot at 100 Fox Street. Is there a motion? Alderman Nichols.
Thank you, Mayor. I move for the approval of Resolution 17-16, the resolution approving a 2016 budget adjustment for the purpose of acquiring a vacant lot at 100 Fox Street for the Loop the Lake Trail project.
There's a motion and a second. Do we have discussion? Alderman Collier?
I understand we're voting for the Fox Street property and how important that property is, but a month ago, 3 weeks ago, we were told that there was something coming from the Canadian National Railroad, and without something from them or some information from them, I think we should maybe stand pat until we know exactly what we're giving up or what we're getting through the railroad.
Director Radke or Attorney Captain, do you have any information on the crossing at this point?
Well, we do have a draft agreement from Canadian National that the city attorney has reviewed. She made one minor suggested alteration to it involving a subtitle to the name of the agreement, which further identifies it as a recreational trail crossing. We sent that back to Canadian National last week, and I have not heard anything from them yet. So in essence, we are agreeing to the terms of the agreement, recommending agreeing, and that would have to come to the council. And that agreement mentions nothing about, any other closings. I did try to get in touch with this person again today before the meeting and left a voicemail message and asking her to either return my call or respond to the email that was sent last week, and just have heard nothing as of yet.
Alderman Zelinski? Oh.
So on this, Tungate put this in here about the extra cost if we would have put it on, instead of having it on Mathewson Street, put it on Budamore Street. So it's a total of 260 feet. How was that measured out? Or was there a plant, like a mapping of that, just like how we had the other one, to make sure that it was that many feet? And where was the cost from? Is it just a basic cost, like the amount of money per foot? Because it looks like we're paying, if it's that much for the extra footage of 260 feet, we'd be paying $12.50 per foot. So is this all put in, that just that amount is the extra for that extra 260 feet, and would some cost be lower from switching it? And I'm just wondering where that those numbers came from.
I did check with the engineer on this, and the answer to your question is pretty much what you've laid out. It is 260 feet longer. There's more pilings, more structure. There would also have to be additional cost for some borings. They did the underwater borings at the Mathewson Street site, and obviously they'd have to do it at the Budamore Street site. So really those three things, added to that, to the additional cost.
Okay.
I missed the attorney was going to discuss the terms of the crossing agreement. I'm not list the terms of the crossing agreement.
The agreement with the railroad, it's a permitted use is what it is. Their terms are like other railroad agreements that I've seen.
Mayor, point of order. As you tell us, this isn't on the agenda.
I'll agree with you and we'll move on if the council doesn't want to hear about what those terms are.
Well, I would like to hear about the terms, but I don't want to violate the laws here, as you tell us, when it's not on the agenda.
It's related to, but if you can override my ruling that it's not on the agenda and you can have a vote.
Thank you.
So if you'd like to have a vote on that?
Just keeping it even for everybody.
So are you asking to have a vote on it, or are you not?
Can I ask you what?
To have a vote on whether or not we hear on the terms of the railroad crossing?
No, I'm not.
Okay, then we'll move on. No, we've determined that it's not on the agenda, and we're going to end the discussion. Alderman Taylor, you have the floor.
We made it clear last meeting that this is a real hinge pin for this project to move forward. Before we start buying any more property or anything, we have to know. So that's why the importance of this is, as Alderman Collier has stated here too. I'm looking at this map here with purchasing this property, and it seems like we're still in the mode of pay as you go and don't budget. And that process up here just, has to stop at some point. There's another $25,000 of unbudgeted money. We have flush curbs, parking lots, relocating storm inlets, removing trees. It just goes on and on. And I don't know how we can just do this without stopping this process in budgeting. It's 25 for the lot. What is it to do with what this map shows us? You know, parking lots, moving inlets.
Director
thousands.
Tungate, would you like to comment on those other costs?
Sure. We just had a budget review with our engineer, and really all the costs for the extra, the trail, the landscaping, the parking lot, all of that is going to be within the budget of the project. So there's really, that's going to be the fundraising, part of what Future Nina is doing, and there's really nothing that the city's going to pay for that, other than what we've already committed to the project.
I haven't seen any written document on this that we're not going to pay for any of this.
So what Director Tungate is saying is that this is the trail landing, just as the trail landing would have been potentially over 20 feet further, and that was part of the project. This trail landing is also part of the project. It's just the land purchase that's not part of the project. So this affords us extra parking and a better landing point for the trail that's safer. And that will be included within the trail project.
We're putting 8 stalls next to the 8-stall parking lot next to this person's house. How are we going to protect his property from a car backing into his yard or his driveway? How is that going to be done? It doesn't show anything on this map here.
The same way it works on Broad Street, which would have the same conditions. The road stops at that point.
Will there be a curb back here? There's no curb or anything at that time.
I don't believe
We're not addressing the property owners here, and there is another tree on here that needs to come down. There's probably $5,000 worth of tree removal, and you only have one on here. There's 2 large cottonwoods on this map.
So the property owner next door is in favor of this plan?
Oh, I understand that. I've talked with him. But I'm looking at the safety of his property and the safety of children out here playing. If you go past his house, he's probably got 30 pieces of young child's equipment there in his driveway. And if you're putting a parking lot next to it, I wonder how you're going to stop the vehicles from backing over a kid on his property. That's all I'm asking here. Just looking at a safety issue.
I'm not sure what your question is.
Well, we need to have more detail here and not just pay as you go and
we already addressed
engineering as you go.
We already addressed that this is included in the price of the project. We're just looking at the price, additional purchase of the lot.
Okay, according to state statute 62.09, item 10, the comptroller shall countersign all contracts, and no contract should be valid without the sole countered sign. I haven't seen, because it's non-budgeted, and I haven't seen on any of these documents countersigning of the comptroller.
We would not sign those until it's approved. Just like you don't see my signature on any of the items that are in the packet until after the approval.
Well, we're out there making offers on something without the comptroller knowing this, without the process of her signature on here, because it's a non-budgeted item stated by state statutes.
Contingent upon approval of the council. So if the council doesn't approve it, the offer is not valid.
Yeah, well, I don't read it that way. I think the comptroller should have to sign these documents when we're going out there and looking to purchase properties without budgeted dollars. And furthermore, with the statement that you had in the packet, with the lighting and the trail, the other bridge, and the 14 lights behind the sewage plant, you guys are just going to keep beating that drum with the 14 lights of $60-some thousand when all you need is 4 street lights back there at $15. So, and we would be foolish to put a blacktop mat down back there, as it states in here, for $100-some thousand for the first 3 to 5 years. You would want to lay a screening mat down there first to let that settle before you would even want to put the blacktop down on the shoreline.
So we're discussing purchasing the lot at this point.
And this is Brian Tunke's memo. Thank you.
Alderman Zelensky?
Just wondering, it's concerning on the property of where it's, when was it decided that the trail had to be, I wasn't here for when it was decided that we were approving Loop the Lake project to have the trail enter there. Why was it ever in question to have it on the Butamore Street entrance and have them budget for this $325,000?
There were 3 alternatives looked at initially. One was Lawson Street, the second one was Mathewson Street, the third one was Butamore Street. Originally, yes, it was, Lawson was kind of the preferred crossing, but we, primarily because it's a shorter crossing, but then we ran into some issues, you know, with the property on the other side. There was going to be some excessive acquisition costs there, and the right-of-way was really an issue and that sort of thing. So really it kind of came down to the distance, and so Mathewson was really, you know, I think the next choice, and a nice, you know, clean alignment over to the trestle trail. And then, as you see in the memo tonight, you know, $300,000+ more to go 900 feet. The other option that was looked at was to actually go over to James Island, you know, and hit land in James Island and then angle over to the trestle. So that was, I want to say, like 1,100 feet or so. So, and then we thought that DNR would have some issues with, you know, James Island being used. And so really, yeah, there's 3 or 4 options that were looked at.
Well, I just don't like the way we're going about this, to just take land off the tax roll, and we're not even considering this neighborhood very well. You say we have Tim Goes that lives across the street, and he agrees with this. He's just agreeing with this because it's like asking him, want me to shoot out one of your eyes, or do you want me to shoot out both your eyes? Of course you're going to pick the one. This neighborhood is in so much distress. If you've ever been down there, they need as much help as they can get, and we're just making it worse by running this down more streets in front of more houses, when yes, it's a lot more expensive to put it in the right place, but why aren't we doing it the right way? Maybe we can't afford this, and maybe we shouldn't be going about it, but I love this Loop the Lake trail. I'm going to be using it all the time once it's finalized and a done deal, but I think we need to be right to our neighbors and right to our city. We can't just be doing this.
Alderman Taylor?
Mayor, I just want to know, you interrupted me and said we're talking about this lot, and I was discussing item 1 on here. We just had a discussion with Director Tungate and Alderman Zelensky, and no interruption of that, Mayor.
We're not debating whether I'm interrupting or not interrupting. Do you have something to discuss?
I'm stating a fact here. I'm talking about this property here.
Do you have
on
something?
This memo, Mayor, you interrupt me and tell me I can't talk about it. You let you have this discussion go on.
Do you have something to discuss about this lot? Otherwise, we're going to move forward.
I do have something
to
discuss about this lot. Alderman Zelensky made a great, if you're not going to interrupt me, Alderman Zelensky made a great statement here that why don't we do it right? And this pay-as-you-go, engineer-as-you-go doesn't work. It's never worked, okay? It just keeps getting worse and worse and worse, and it's going to continue to get worse and worse for the taxpayers. But we could talk to the NENA people who put this project on and say, listen, we have to be sensitive to the neighborhood. We have to be sensitive to our taxpayers. And this project is going to cost a little more. You heard Director Tungate say, wow, that was the best way to go across on Butamore Street. Okay. Now, we limit our exposure to citizens.
I didn't hear Director Tungate say that Butamore was the best option. I might have missed that. Did you say that, Brian? No.
Did you say that it was the most efficient?
No, I said the Matheson Street was mainly for the, the distance.
Okay, but you had talked about Butamore Street.
I was referring to the Matheson alignment. I don't know if I made a Butamore alignment statement or not.
I thought you were talking about the Butamore alignment with James Island and the.
That was a kind of a option 4B, if you will, to actually cut over to James Island and then to the trestle, but that was even a further distance.
Well, when you do this without a plan and without being sensitive to our taxpayers that pay our wages and put us in office up here, it's a sad day. And we could do this right. We could really do this right and be proud of it, but we're choosing not to. And this ongoing engineer as you go and budget as you go has to stop at some point, Mayor. And I know it's not gonna, because we gotta go across the river yet, and we have to do something over there with the railroad. So it's just gonna keep growing. And also, I would like to have a breakdown on what it costs to do the shelter at Shepherd Park. The department was in there all winter long. That's gotta cost a lot of dollars too.
Alderman Collier?
Alderman Taylor, as far as the shelter in the park, if it costs a lot of dollars, that's part of maintenance of a park. I wish we would do a better job of maintaining our parks. As far as the item on the agenda, the property, you ain't gonna find a better piece of property for $25,000 in your neighborhood, my neighborhood, or any. It's a lot now. If it doesn't become a bridge parcel, it could always become another extension of the park with probably one of the better views you're gonna have. And bang for the dollar, I know $25,000, $30,000, whatever is not gonna come out of somebody's pocket, and it's not gonna be free. It's gonna cost us someplace, somehow. But sometimes you gotta spend some money to make money, but as far as property, we bought another piece of property a little while ago because it would help downtown. I think that would help the city of Menasha advertise their waterfront and everything else, even if this Lake the Loop doesn't go through for some unknown reason. I think it's going through. I know the neighborhood is against it, but the city of Menasha is for it. And that's when you have some tough, cruel decisions. I hope down the road we can find a way to get it on the other side of the mixing plant, but I hope we vote on this tonight and finally put it to bed and go forward.
Alderman Benner?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, this has been a frustrating process for about a year or so now. And from what I remember of this lot came up for several reasons. One, it was a compromise for the neighbors to get it off the road. We had parking concerns that we were addressing. And also we ended up with a blighted lot that needed to be addressed. And we were able to do all those for the tidy sum of $25,000. The rest of it's all part of the project. I'm struggling to see really what the big concern is with this. When this first came up, I had a talk with the mayor about it, and he did express concerns about making unbudgeted purchases. He was very strong about that in our private conversation. And so I certainly am very confident that the mayor does not take this lightly. But it is something that is in the best interest of the city and certainly the neighborhood. And I think this is the best solution for what we have all the way around, and maintaining our commitment with the Loop the Lake folks that we made a commitment with a year ago that everybody was on board with. And I suggest that we stop making the project look bad with the dialogue that we're having and continue on with what's a positive project and approve a positive venture. It's good. I think it's good for the neighborhood because this lot was unbuildable. You weren't going to be able to put a home on it anyways. It moves the parking and the trail off the street. It takes care of some of the neighbors' concerns with parking. It has good transitional landscaping between this and the neighborhood. the neighbor. It has all the amenities that I think is necessary to do this responsibly. And I think we should just go forward with this. Thank you.
The litmus test is, let's put it in your front yard and see how you like it, because there's no adequate parking for this, just like we have at Broad Street. So we're adding to, now we're doubling the problem that we're having in our community with parking on this situation. And we're not addressing the issues, Mr. Benner, and we're not addressing them in the budget process, Mr. Benner, which we should be
Mr. Taylor,
for our taxpayers.
No personal
And I have
attacks
a
against
question
other
for-
aldermen.
I have a question for Director Tunkgate. Mr. Collar made mention of the restrooms. How many years have those been closed, Brian?
They have recently been reopened. We
I
did some.
understand that. How many years were they closed before we just opened them?
They were only open on special events. When they had some picnics down there, we'd open up a bathroom. So they were closed for the most part.
For many years. Okay. And the reason we opened them, Mr. Collar, and spent money on it was for this trestle, okay? And it just keeps adding up and adding up. And this is what I'm addressing here. I'm not against buying this lot. I'm against adding to this, to our budget. We tell the people, this is what we're going to tax you. And then during the year, we say, we're not raising your taxes. And then we start, during the year, we just keep opening up more and more, so we don't have to tell the taxpayers we're raising their taxes. And this lot, it's a good price, but look what comes with it. We don't have anything on the added costs that are coming. So it's just, again, engineer as you go, budget as you go, and that's not the way this alderman goes.
Alderman Collier.
I'm not here to slam nobody, so I'll make it quick. I'm sorry the people down in Dogtown, as we know it, didn't have bathrooms open. But here's an opportunity for them to get a lot for the dollar. There hasn't been many dollars put in that part of town. And I think we're spending wisely if we can get this done. The people will appreciate it. It will help Menasha with other projects that I hope are on the rise. And I hope that we can finally sit down and pass this property one and then worry about other stuff. You talk about, you've been an alderman for 2 years and you complain about the budget. You complain about the budget, but I don't see you, you know, you just throw numbers out there and accusations. I mean, yeah, there might have to be changes made, and there might have to be different thinking done, but let's pass this tonight, and let's get it going. It's like you say, a year, and you're still complaining a year from now? That's just not right. And I'm sorry, Dee Dee. Thanks.
And I'll be complaining 2 years from now that we don't budget and we just keep adding to it, adding to it. If you do a project right, let's engineer it right, let's get the dollars allocated, and I got no problem, let's go out there. We've trampled on this neighborhood that doesn't want it, and it won't happen in the rich man's neighborhood, but the poor man's neighborhood will trample on them. We already have an existing problem on Broad Street with this trail, that people cannot park in front of their house at any time at the end of Broad Street. We're not addressing the parking lot issue that we need to have down here. And I believe the number from Future Nina was 300,000 to 400,000 people. Any of you want 304,000 people coming through your neighborhood, parking their car in front of your house day and night? No, you don't. So let's do it right. Let's budget for a parking lot. Let's get the parking lot down there. Let's get the proper needs down there. And let's eliminate the exposure to the children that are riding their bikes through that neighborhood. And by eliminating that exposure is by utilizing different trail systems down there. That's all I'm doing. You want to start throwing stones, go ahead, I can take them. But I'm listening facts. You guys aren't.
Seeing no further discussion, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Motion carried on roll call 6-2.
Item K is ordinances and resolutions. The first item is Ordinance 4, amending the Code of Ordinances regarding polling places. Is there a motion? Not working, Mike, huh? Alderman Keehan? There we go.
I'll move to approve O-4-16, an ordinance amending Title II, Chapter 1 of the Code of Ordinances, polling places, introduced by myself.
Is there a second? There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Motion carried on roll call 8-0.
Item 2 is ordinance O-516, amending the Code of Ordinances regarding Class B intoxicating liquor licenses. Alderman Keehan?
Thank you. I'll move to approve O-5-16, an ordinance amending Title VII, Chapter 2 of the Code of Ordinances, reserve Class B intoxicating liquor license fee, introduced by myself.
Is there a second? Anyone? Okay, there's a motion and a second. Did you get someone? Okay. Any discussion? Seeing none, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Motion carried on roll call 8-0.
Item 3 is Resolution 2016 regarding a preliminary resolution declaring intent to exercise special assessment powers. Is there a motion? It's you, Will.
Yeah. Make a motion to approve to council R20-16 preliminary resolution declaring intent to exercise special assessment powers under section 66.0703 Wisconsin statutes.
There's a motion and a second.
I'm still on the last one.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Motion carried on roll call 8-0.
Item 4 is Resolution 2116. Do we have a motion? Alderman Crowe-Kramer?
I will make a motion to approve R-21-16 preliminary resolution declaring intent to exercise special assessment powers under section 66.0703 Wisconsin statutes.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Will, can you turn your light off, Will? Seeing none, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Motion carried on roll call 8-0.
Item 5 is Resolution 2216. Do we have a motion? Alderman Crowe-Kramer?
I would like to make a motion to approve R-22-16, which is a resolution acknowledging review of City of Menasha 2015 Compliance Maintenance Annual Report under Wisconsin Administrative Code NR 208.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? We're done with the long ones now, so we're done with you. Could we have a roll call vote, please?
Motion carried on roll call 8-0.
So item L is appointments. We have a resignation and an appointment for the Park and Rec Board. If you would like to make that motion together or separately, that would be the council's decision. Alderman Keehan?
Thank you. I will move to accept the resignation of Sue Pulowski from the Parks and Rec Board for the term of 10/1/2013 to 10/1/2016, and to accept the appointment of Rob Delane to the Parks and Rec Board for the term of 7/1/2016 to 10/1/2016.
There's a motion and a second. I'd like to comment that Rob did help us at our park build out at Woodland Hills and was a huge help to us, and we're very appreciative of that as well. Alderman Benner?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When I served on the park board, and I've known Sue Pulowski before that, Sue has been, in my opinion, a very good member of the park board, long-standing member. And I was disappointed to see this, and but I don't think we do a good enough job of recognizing people when they do resign or they move on their position. And I think Sue did an excellent job, and I enjoyed serving on the park board with her. So I just wanted to mention that. Thank you.
I would agree. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Item 3 is the appointment of Christine Stacker to the Board of Health. Do we have a motion? Alderman Keegan?
I'll move to approve the appointment of Christine Stacker to the Board of Health for the term of 7/1/2016 to 5/1/2019.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Item 4 is the reappointment of Patricia Rudolph to the Board of Review. Is there a motion? Alderman Keegan?
Thank you. I'll move to approve the reappointment of Patricia Rudolph to the Board of Review for the term of 7/1/2016 to 7/1/2021.
Is there a second? There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Item 5 is the reappointment of Bob Golds to the Library Board. Do we have a motion to approve? Alderman Keegan?
Thank you. I'll move to approve the reappointment of Bob Golds to the Library Board for the term of 7/1/2016 to 7/1/2019.
Is there a second? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. I did just want to comment that we have, I think, 2 openings on the Library Board right now, a Police Commission Board opening, so if there are people that you know of, or if there's people watching this that are interested in serving the community, we'd be very interested in talking and seeing if one of these boards was a good fit for you. And, oops, there's one more. If I would have turned the page, item 6 is the reappointment of Larry Hazy to the Housing Authority. Do we have a motion? Alderman Keehan?
Thank you. I'll move to approve the reappointment of Larry Hazy to the Housing Authority for the term of 7/1/2016 to 7/1/2021.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Item N is public comment on any matter listed on the agenda. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak?
Yeah, I would like to comment. Kathy Stahl, 44 De Pere Street. I guess I appreciate the passion around this Loop the Lake project and the purchase of this property, but from what I've learned, even though this property on Fox Street is a non-conforming lot, if the city was willing to work with the owners, there could be concessions made to build a non-conforming structure on that, and I wonder if the current owner was properly informed about that, or if they were just told it's unbuildable. I guess I would like a little feedback on that. And then Alderman Brenner made some blanket statements about how beneficial this project would be to that neighborhood and how the neighbors would benefit from it. I guess I'm not aware of any survey or questionnaire that went out. Was that taken, or was there comment received from the neighborhood, or how did Alderman Brenner come to the conclusion that that would be beneficial and to the neighbors and the neighborhood? I'm not aware of any feedback that was received from the neighborhood in the form of a survey, or perhaps maybe the Alderman Nichols getting comments from people in her district regarding the pros and cons and the benefits of that in their neighborhood. I guess I'm kind of agreeing with Alderman Taylor that we need to look at the facts, and to make blanket statements that say, you know, this is a good thing, this is a good thing, go and live there, and go and come back and tell me this is a good thing. That's what I would like to see, is the people from that neighborhood represented, and not assumptions being made just for the benefit of a project that is being rammed down their throats, essentially. So if that information and data is out there, I would appreciate if that could be shared with the public. Thank you.
Is there anyone else? Seeing no one, do we have a motion to adjourn? Is there a second? All those in favor? Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.